The seventh flight with 178 migrants deported from Honduras, a country to which they were illegally and unjustly sent by the United States, arrived to Venezuela through the return to the Homeland plan. Colombian President Gustavo Petro denounced a media coup by the Council of State after it imposed a tutela that prohibits the presidency from broadcast live through its councils of ministers. And in Myanmar, an earthquake of magnitude 7.7 on the Richter scale shook the center of the country, leaving at least 20 people dead and severe damage to infrastructure. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. The seventh flight with 178 migrants deported from Honduras, a country to which they were illegally and unjustly sent by the United States, arrived to Venezuela through the return to the Homeland plan. The plane of the state-owned airline Conviasa landed on Venezuela soil with 168 men and 13 women. Upon their arrival, the nationals were received by the Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, and the President of the Great Mission back to the Homeland, Anaí Arismendi, who reaffirmed their commitment to the welfare of the Venezuelan migrants. The flights take place after Washington sent more than 200 migrants to El Salvador, accused and detained for their alleged but not proven links with the extinct criminal Tren de Aragua gang.
46 minutos tardamos como.
At this moment, 2:46 a.m. in the morning local time, we received all the immigrants that came in this flight, 165 men who have been returning to their homeland. They are going to reunite with their families. One of the men we received, they said the government of the U.S.
Mutila a la familia.
Is sharing,
hombres por un lado, mujeres por otro lado, padres por un lado, madres por otro lado, niños en otro lugar.
Children from their mothers.
The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, rejected the threats of the U.S. government regarding the controversy over the Guayana Essequiba. The Venezuelan president condemned the recent hegemonic declarations by the United States regarding the territory of the Essequibo, pointing out the interest of imperialism in the country's resources. For his part, the Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Hill stated that foreign interests will not be allowed to try to rewrite the reality of the disputed territory. All this after the Secretary of State of the United States, Marco Rubio, reiterated the current commitment of the U.S. government with Guyana and threatened a military intervention in the country. These threats have been made since Venezuela announced that it will elect a governor for the eastern part of the country in its regional elections scheduled for next May 25th. And U.S. returns 60 irregular migrants to Cuba under bilateral migration agreements. The Cuban Ministry of the Interior explained that of the 60 deportees, 55 are men and 5 are women. The ministry highlights that within the group there was a person who was transferred to the investigation body, this after it was detected that he was an alleged perpetrator of criminal acts before migrating. With the arrival of these citizens, there are already 13 returns in 2025. Among all the groups of irregular migrants returned, the entity points out which amounts to 367 people so far this year. And the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump ordered satellite surveillance of border with Mexico. As part of a crackdown on illegal immigration and drug cartels, U.S. President Donald Trump authorized 2 spy agencies to train their satellite monitoring capabilities on the U.S.-Mexico border. These actions, combined with the deployment of forces, demonstrate the increasing militarization of the southern border, where President Donald Trump has proclaimed a national emergency. The president made immigration enforcement a major focus of his campaign, halting green card applications and carrying out mass deportations. And with a civic act at the Colorado Party House and the participation of 4 presidents, Uruguay celebrated the 40th anniversary of the return of democracy to the country. The event was attended by the current president of Uruguay, Yamandu Orsi, and former presidents Julio Maria Sanguinetti, Jose Mujica, and Luis Alberto Lacalle Herrera, who debated for more than an hour, while former presidents Luis Lacalle Poulos sent a video with statements. In this context, Orsi celebrated the meeting and highlighted the democratic dynamic that exists in the country between the opposition and the government. For his part, former President Jose Pepe Mujica called for unity among Uruguayans. Now we have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Colombian President Gustavo Petro denounced a media group by the Council of State after it imposed a tutela that prohibits the presidency from broadcasting live through its councils of ministers, private and public media. Petro affirmed that the spaces on public and private television are not subject to seizure. He also questioned that the electromagnetic spectrum cannot be privatized in Colombia, nor can it be used only by the owners of private channels, as it would be contrary to the constitutional rights to pluralism of information and truthfulness. President Petro also invited all legal experts on the subject of pluralism of information and television to express their views on this process that is beginning and which is worth studying nationally and internationally in depth. And in this regard, the Council of State has approved a tutela action against President Gustavo Petro, who intends not to broadcast his councils of ministers live during private time on the country's private and public television channels. It should be noted that since February, President Gustavo Petro has decided that his councils of ministers, which take place once a week, should be broadcast on national television on both public and private channels. In response, citizens Maria Cristina Cuellar has filed an action for tutela against the presidency of the Republic, claiming that the broadcast violates the fundamental rights to information and respect for the right to choose the mass media that suits citizens. And the governments of Colombia and the United States signed an agreement on the exchange of migratory information to strengthen bilateral cooperation in achieving a migratory policy that respects human rights. The deal was signed by the Colombian Foreign Minister Laura Sarabia and the United States Secretary of Homeland Security Kristen Noem, and is aimed at the repatriation of Colombian nationals from the United States to the South American country. The U.S. delegation emphasized that Washington is willing to work with Colombia on border security with the exchange of biometric data.
We have signed a statement of intent for biometric cooperation, and it will reaffirm our strong and our resilient and enduring partnership that we have between the United States and Colombia. We're going to strengthen our regional security systems and make sure that we're disrupting the movement of threatening actors that perpetuate illegal activity and also facilitate illegal trafficking of migrants across the Western Hemisphere.
And Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino says during a press conference that his country will not return to having U.S. military bases in response to reports fueled by Donald Trump's threats to recover the Interoceanic Canal.
Créanlo.
Believe it or not, there will be no military bases of any power, be it the United States or any other part of the world. The neutrality treaty is respected, and the only country with the right to have a military presence in Panama or military security bases in Panama is our republic, the Republic of Panama.
Mi gobierno.
My government cannot go against history. This country fought to dismantle the U.S. military bases in our territory. From there to us cooperating, we have been doing it since the 90s, and especially today on issues such as drug trafficking, migration, etc.
Yo sinceramente espero.
I sincerely hope that when the time comes and he presents his credentials, I will have a frank conversation with him. I have the best recommendations of him directly from Secretary of State Rubio himself. So we are going to understand each other. Both he and other authorities have expressed their interest in having a good relation with Panama.
And in Panama, workers continue to mobilize in rejection of Law 462 on reforms to the Social Security Fund, recently enacted by President Jose Raul Mulino. Workers oppose Law 462, which reformed the pension system to allow private outsourcing of the administration and placement of Social Security funds. The protest will also include demands against open-pit metal mining, the high cost of living, and the construction of a dam on the Indio River to supply the Panama Canal. Should be noted that these actions follow demonstrations held in previous years when debates on the environmental and social impact of mining projects such as the copper mine in Donoso were reactivated.
The Central de Trabajadores de Panamá is definitely against having this law because it threatens the national security of all Panama workers and most of all the future of the youth who will be the most affected, our children, our families. So I invite the Panama people to join this fight. We already know what is going to happen. They are not going to discuss it, but in the streets we are going to defeat Law 462 and we are going to defeat the pretension and the opening of the mines. We are preparing ourselves today. There is mobilizations in Chiriquí, in Concle, in Darien, here in Panama. That is to say, this is extended at a national level.
And the Mexican government officially approved a reform for the protection of native corn, prohibiting the use of genetically modified corn throughout the national territory. This measure substantially modifies Articles 4 and 27 of the Political Constitution of the United Mexican States in support of the production of native corn. The new text of the 4th constitutional article establishes that corn production in the country must remain free of any genetic modification produced through techniques that transcend the natural barriers of reproduction or recombination, while Article 27 defines the premises for guaranteeing food sovereignty and sustainable rural development. Previously, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum stated that this initiative seeks to guarantee biodiversity, food sovereignty, and the health of Mexicans. We now have our second and final short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final break, and we'll be right back. Back. Myanmar declared state of emergency in regions affected by the 7.7 magnitude earthquake that shook the center of the country and so far left 20 people dead and severe damage to infrastructure. The tremor was recorded at 12:50 local time at a depth of 10 kilometers and the epicenter was located about 17 kilometers from Mandalay, the second largest city in the Asian continent with 1.2 million inhabitants. Local media said the death toll rose to 20 in the city of Mandalay. The first images published by the country's media show collapsed buildings, temples, and structures. The effects of the earthquake were also felt in Yangon, the main city of Myanmar, where buildings were evacuated. On Friday morning, U.S. warplanes launched approximately 41 airstrikes against several areas of Yemen. These attacks targeted the capital city of Sana'a and its surroundings, as well as other Yemeni governorates, causing severe damage to infrastructure and telecommunications network. One of the places affected in the capital is the Sana'a International Airport, where 7 civilians, including 2 children, were wounded after 2 consecutive attacks. The escalation of U.S. violence against the country comes in an attempt to dissuade Yemen from its military operations in support of the Palestinian people and the Gaza Strip. And according to images published by local media, it was possible to record the damage to stores in the area of the General Command caused by the U.S. attacks against the Yemeni capital. Donald Trump's government has carried out multiple bombings in different parts of Yemen since the night of March 15th, when one of them caused the death of 53 people. And in Lebanon, Israeli military aircraft violated again the ceasefire status in the region and carried out new attacks in the south of the country, leaving at least 4 people killed. According to a report issued by the Lebanese Ministry of Public Health, one of the attacks targeted the town of Yohmar al-Shakif, where one of the missiles hit a vehicle carrying 3 people. The 4th victim was killed in the town of Marub, in the district of Tiro, when one of the Israeli drones fired a guided missile in the direction of the vehicle of the Lebanese, who was later identified as Hassan Nama Sabra, a commander of the resistance movement Hezbollah. Despite the implementation of the ceasefire truce on November 27, 2024, the Israeli regime has continued its attacks against the Arab country, announcing its continued presence in 5 critical areas in southern Lebanon. And in Israel, a new anti-government demonstration called for an agreement for the release of hostages and the resignation of Benjamin Netanyahu. Thousands of demonstrators rallied in Tel Aviv's Habima Square on Thursday's night to demand that the Prime Minister stop attacks on the Gaza Strip and reach an agreement with Hamas resistance movement for the release of the remaining 59 hostages. The protest also rejected the government's decision to move ahead with the expulsion of top security officials and its plans to reform the judiciary. Several demonstrators stated that the main enemy of the Israelis is the far right-wing government. And in Iran, a multitude of people marched in the streets of the country's main cities on the world Al-Quds Day to reject the Israeli occupation and defend the Palestinian cause. Amidst Iranian and Palestinian flags, the attendees denounced the occupation of the Israeli regime and the violation of the sanctity of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, while demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Among the crowd, posters with images of the mosque esplanade, accompanied by the phrase "Al-Quds is ours," a slogan that defines the determination of the Muslim world to liberate the city of Jerusalem. The Day of Al-Quds, instituted in 1979 by the founder of the Islamic Revolution, Imam Khomeini, continues to be for more than 40 years a promise of war until the Palestinian people achieve their self-determination. In Iran as well, Tehran's Milad Tower was the center of the celebrations of Nowruz, the Persian New Year, a festival that marks the beginning of the spring and highlights the country's ancestral traditions. This year's event includes folklore performances, traditional music and dances, as well as displays of local handicrafts such as hand-woven carpets. Visitors also enjoyed a gastronomic market offering everything from sweets to typical dishes from various Iranian provinces, with live demonstration of the preparation of the food. The Nowruz holiday not only celebrates rule and hope, but also brings families together and fosters a sense of community, highlighting the cultural richness of Iran. And the Vice Minister of Heritage and Creative Cultural Industries of Bolivia, Juan Carlos Cortero, officially inaugurated the Santa Rosa de Cuevo 2025 International Festival of the Arts. Over 100 creators from 9 countries start in this festival of culture in the remote area of Santa Rosa de Cuevo, department of Santa Cruz. The premise of merchant simplicity and conceptualism, the festival follows a valid option since its first edition in April 2016, consisting of making art with whatever can be found in the environment. The list of participants includes creators from Bolivia, Italy, United States, Germany, Argentina, Belgium, Brazil, Cuba, Grenada, and Japan, and various regions and communities in the host country. We now have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.